Okay, team, I hope you can hear my audio on this. I've been working through some of the reviews of recent, and I think I'd just like to clarify some details about how to fill in the review, etc. So this section here, I pre-populate for you before sending it out to you. This section here is the beginning of the main part of our body of discussion. So I will state in here which of these keys you are at. So if you're behind target, on target, ahead of target, exempt, etc. Most of the time I'm putting OT or AT here. And then we slip in here information about what we discussed. And you'll all see from the reviews you've had so far that either I talk a little bit about what happened in the group meeting, but much of the content here is our one-to-one. This is a great opportunity for us to refer to what we discussed, should we need to jog our memories, and an opportunity for your line managers to see what we've talked about. So it's good that this is thorough in this section. From what we've talked about here, we come up with a target here, and it's generally all-round overriding target in this section. The targets become more specific as we move into these three sections. And in here, I'll put a learning status. This directly relates to your functional skills. It will be E if you're exempt from that functional skill. What that means is you already have the qualification in it, but do remember, we need to continue to maintain our practice in that area. If not, we will place in there where what your status is to improve on that. So it might be that we talk about your maths development as a practitioner or within the classroom. For example, you might need to do a little bit of work on how to interpret statistical information about your students and use that as a springboard to make predictions, estimations, and assessments about them. So we will talk about that, and again, like the box above, I will state here what we've been discussing, and here we'll come up with a target. It's the same process for English. Here is what we discuss. Here I'll come up with a target. Your learning status will be in there. ICT is slightly different because in here you'll expect to see this. Oh, she says, although she can't type in it, this will say NA because that isn't part of the functional skills process that we need to look at. But we will look at it in terms of how it manifests within your role. So one of the things you may need to look at is how to develop more engaging features on PowerPoint so that that resource is more useful and time efficient, both when planning and delivering to the students. I'll talk about what we discuss in here, and then we place the target in this box. This is where we start to get to the end of the section that I start to fill in, or your tutor will fill in. This is where I talk about where you're at in terms of the framework, the progress towards your IAG objectives, and summarizes where we are on the journey so far. This section here is based upon some of the interaction that you'll be doing in terms of uploading your 20% hours, the progress you're making so far, information about where you are and what you've been doing in terms of your training. And this is something that Lisa and I currently fill in for you, but we can only do that based on you uploading your 20% information on the tracker. Should we find that you are sitting behind or not quite where we would expect you to be, we would fill this section in with a plan of how we aim to get you on track. But actually, if we're both doing both ends of the deal, i.e. you're contributing what you need to and we're contributing with resources and guidance and reviews, this shouldn't ever really need much of a plan in it. This section is for you, and this is the bit I really want you to take time over getting right, because this shouldn't become a process that it gets pinged back and forth between us. So what impact is your apprenticeship having in your job role? What knowledge, skills and behaviours have you gained since your last review? So you can look back at your different reviews, because they do differ each time, and think about, okay, well, I was saying last time I had this gap in my knowledge. Since then I was provided this guidance. I've gone and done this activity. Now I can confidently say I am able to ... You fill in the blank. This box will get bigger the more you write in it, so feel free to be detailed with what you're saying. From that, you create your own target. We are well used to creating targets by now, no doubt, and a personal development target. So you can consider this one to be about how you address your daily role and your position and your journey on this apprenticeship, and then personally, holistically, what would you like to develop? This is important because it tells us what you need to do to further improve in general. So it might be that you are struggling with a particular aspect of the course. Let's say, for example, that's how to research. And you can let us know that in this box if we haven't already talked about it. It's an opportunity for you to record where you may need some extra support. And then you'll have this sort of safeguarding opportunity to write here. So any incidents relating in the past 4 weeks since your last review, and you can write in here what they were. That's so that we can support you with those, and just bear in mind that you need to keep that confidential. So no personal details in that box, please. And then using colour or symbol, i.e. a circle, you will state how satisfied you've been so far with the course. This is important for us because we're providing you a service and we need to know how well we're providing that service for you. For review 1, we're looking at health and safety. So do you know who your fire marshal is? Do you know where your meeting point is? Do you know what the health and safety responsibilities of employers are? So again, it's just filling in boxes. Again, the same with equality and diversity, which you should know about because you've had that information by now. The same with rights and responsibilities and safeguarding and information and guidance. Finishing with British values, and you've had workbooks, etc. on this. We'll cover this a little bit in session 1. And then finally, we look at your employer section. You need to give your employer time to do this. Caveat warning, don't forget you are possibly not the only candidate on this course with your employer. They may have a number of these to fill out. So if you're leaving it to the last minute to get them to complete this, you're probably going to get them somewhat aggravated. So it's really useful if you give them, 48 to 72 hours to get this done, or as much time as possible. That would be really helpful. And don't forget, they need to have as much of an impact on your development as you and I do. So they will fill out here what the impact is from their perspective of the apprenticeship on your role, any issues that they think they would like to raise. So it might be the examples here, attendance, punctuality, well-being. It might also be the amount of work and how you're balancing that work. They can then talk about the 20% action plans, off-the-job action plans. I know some schools are very proactive about putting this in place. And then they need to prove that they've read the document. So they're going to be able to show that they can support you because they know what's going on in your training. And just like you had to, they need to circle how satisfied they are with the whole system. Big moment here, because this is such a tiny, tiny element of this document, but it's so vital, and it's one that over and over again gets missed or not quite filled in correctly. So your learner signature here needs to be a signature, not a print of your name. You print your name here and the date here. So you can either choose to do a digital signature, or you can print out the whole document or this section of the document, actually write your signature in the box and then scan it back in. But either way, this absolutely must be a signature in these boxes, and we have to do the same. Once all that's completed, we can then send it off to Gudos, and that is that. So any issues or questions, please do ask me and let me know. But ultimately, please take your time to fill this out completely, because you don't want a situation where you think you've done it and it pings back into your inbox and you start to get irritated with it. Thank you for listening. Any questions, let me know.